Hello. Our international highlight this time will focus on the US-Africa Summit, which reinforces the new perspective on the African continent. The President of the United States of America, Barack Obama, announced this week in Washington, D.C., the releasing of $33 billion, approximately 3.3 trillion kwanzas, to support the development of the African continent. According to the U.S. statesman, who was addressing at the US-Africa Summit, his country will make a long-term big investment so as to ensure the progress and development of the whole Africa and also create thousands of jobs in the United States of America. In the forum, where Angola was represented with a delegation led by its Vice President, Manuel Vicente, President Obama said that besides the planned investments, Africa must take steps in promoting rule of law, reforms, good governance, and ensure citizen freedom, protection of investment, and feasibility of business projects without resorting to bribery. In his speech, Obama highlighted the investment in agriculture and child protection so as to ensure health growth of population, as well as the need of paying great attention to issues related to peace and security. Barack Obama informed that more than 26 billion US dollars, approximately 2.6 trillion kwanzas, were mobilized to create energy in Africa, thus benefiting over 60 million households and companies in order to boost the growth for decades. Obama recalled that in 2013, during his visit in Africa, he had already advocated a partnership with the African continent so as to develop necessary infrastructure to the economy, with emphasis on the production of electricity that will benefit about 20 million households and companies, with the participation of American institutions, African Development Bank, and the private sector. The US President expressed his satisfaction and stressed that the results have overcome the expectation, and he promised to release about $3 million, approximately 300 million kwanzas per year, to achieve the proposed goals. It was during the summit that the President Obama announced a series of measures to boost the relationship with the African continent and contribute to the improvement of living standards of its inhabitants. Among the referred measures is the renewal and improvement of the American law for the promotion of growth and opportunities in Africa, since almost all trade is done with Angola, South Africa, and Nigeria in the energy field. Other priorities advanced by the leader of the world's greatest power are based on the taking American companies to compete in Africa and do more trade missions. Therefore, he announced the release of one more tranche of $7 billion to promote American export to Africa. Barack Obama also showed interest in helping Africans to promote trade among them, reinforcing regional markets, improving the effectiveness of borders, modernizing the customs system so that goods may flow rapidly in Africa and outside the continent. Obama also announced a range of measures to foster the next generation of African entrepreneurs and young business leaders, providing training and capital, as well as access to markets and creating jobs. He also promised an additional allocation of funds to the efforts of the American companies, estimated at 14 billion US dollars, approximately 1.4 trillion kwanzas, in various fields in the continent. To the US President, there is much to be done in the relationship with Africa. Indeed, it was recognized that the continent offers the greatest opportunities around the planet for investments. I want the Africans to buy more American goods and the Americans to use more goods from Africa, said Barack Obama during the meeting that brought together for the first time 50 heads of states and government in Washington. After the summit, it is expected that a new chapter in the history of relations between Americans and Africans is stronger and of brotherhood. Under the US-Africa Summit program, the initiative aimed to discuss US ways of assistance to investors and exporters through agencies such as the American Export-Import Bank, Exim Bank, and the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, having been invited to this panel about 200 entrepreneurs, including African and Americans. The outbreak of Ebola was also on the agenda of the meeting, as well as the fight against Islamic groups operating in Africa, such as Boko Haram in Nigeria. It's been a great pleasure to be with you. We'll see you next time.